So, Ted, we've talked about solar, we've talked about EVs and how these two areas of demand for silver are sort of playing off of each other and may actually evolve in particular ways. There is another really sort of, I guess, compelling sector that's coming along and has been essentially mushrooming over the last few years, and that's data centers. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how this could impact the demand for silver over the next several years.
Yeah, it's a really interesting emerging segment, Peter, actually. I'm going to quote Mark Carney, who actually talked about middle powers in his Davos speech. Data center silver demand could be likened to China in the 1990s. Still a middle power for now, but definitely on track to graduation towards superpower status in the future. In other words, I actually believe that data centers could be consuming, at the levels that solar did at its peak by 2033. This is a long-term trend, but I'm going to explain why. First of all, it's no secret this huge demand for data centers, huge demand for AI is resulting from demand for large language models like Claude, ChatGPT, and silver is actually essential in that across connectors, printed circuit boards, semiconductor chip packaging, thermal interface materials. And it's actually silver's very thermal conductivity, which is the highest of any metal and 9% superior to copper, that makes it uniquely suited actually to managing the heat generated by the AI chips, which run hotter and denser than any computing hardware that preceded them. So, in that sense, silver is almost irreplaceable in these AI server stacks that are powering the digital economy today. And just to give you some more justification where I get that kind of big 200 million ounce figure for 2033 from, global data center capacity has actually expanded fourfold since 2015, from around 26 gigawatts to 103 gigawatts in 2025. That's according to JLL. And they're projecting that 200 gigawatts will be the figure by 2030, with a further 97 gigawatts coming online in across the next few years. Now that's going to be driven by some pretty major investments. There's the Meta's Hyperion campus in Louisiana, which is nearly the size of Manhattan. There's OpenAI's and Oracle's $500 billion Stargate initiative as well. Those are just a couple of projects to mention, but ultimately the compound annual growth rate for data center capacity growth is expected to be around 14%, with around 16 gigawatts added each year. So if you actually apply that to silver, and the Silver Institutes claim that around 55 to 70 million ounces were being consumed from data centers around 2025, 2026, that you end up getting the number that actually by 2030, we're looking at 200 million ounces for data centers across those small applications cumulatively. Now that means that it's not going to be happening overnight, Peter. This is not going to be it's happening 2027, 2028, but it will be growing in line with global AI demand. And so I think it's a real one to watch for silver investors coming into the sector.
So, Ted, data centers could become the new solar.
I
Is that
would
what
say
you're
so,
saying?
yeah.
And yet themselves consume and use solar panels. So this is really becoming an accelerating acceleration kind of scenario. Very, very compelling stuff. Thanks.
No problem.